am PM Kester, and welcome to the How to Take a Break podcast. This is a wellness-centered podcast presented by PM Kester Enterprises that examines the different types of breaks people take and why you need to incorporate breaks into your life. Let's start the episode. Hello and welcome back for another episode of How to Take a Break. I'm your host, PM Kester, and joining me this week is Mamie L. ML Media, and it's an episode that I'm calling Taking a Break for Purpose. I met Mamie at a Buy From a Black Woman working event. Nikki Porche, who's been on the podcast, we started off the new year with her, I believe, last season. Fosters this great community of Black women, and it was a Black women working session at Hodgepodge, a coffee place in Atlanta, and I got to meet Mamie and see her work and just feel her energy, and I thought that she would be a great person to bring in for this topic. So Mamie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
All right. I'm happy to have you and to get into it. And there's a reason why I did not give a full background, because the first question is, I want Mamie to tell the listeners a little bit about ourselves. Tell us about your background. Tell us about your business and give us a little bit of that history.
Absolutely. So I am Mamie Pack. I am the owner and founder of Mamie L Media, where we create stationery with purpose. All of our products are designed to help women prioritize their mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual well-being. So all of our products are designed to help you with where you are in your season of life, because we know that life changes, whether you have small children, whether you're a caregiver, starting a business, going back to school. It's important that we're able to adjust for where we are, and that we're able to build healthy habits, routines, so that we are able to take good care of ourselves. And so all of our products are intentionally designed. And I actually started designing our products for me because I'm a military wife. I have 4 fellas. I have 4 sons. And I also went back to school while having small children, being in new cities. And I've had a lot of areas in my life where I've had to pivot. And during those times, I really thought about, how do I take good care of myself? How do I honor who I am, where I am? What does that look like? How do I do that with grace? And so some of that was dealing with unhealthy patterns and unhealthy, habits, and really trying to unlayer myself of some of the labels that I've allowed other people and things like that. So when you come to Mamie L Media, it's not just about getting products, but it's also about getting resources. So we also have a lot of free resources on our website. I also write. So there's blog posts on everything from marriage, motherhood, purpose, and everything kind of in between. I'm very transparent. One of the best pieces of advice I was given in my early 20s was to talk what you know, right?
Right.
And can't nobody beat me being me. So if I'm being myself and I'm talking what I know, then that comes out in what I write. And so I talk about the mistakes I've made and the lessons I've learned, and to create safe space for other people to know that they're not alone.
I love that. That is excellent. A big thing that jumped out for me in your bio and your story is that you created this for you. You were talking to yourself. And I think that's a key. Like when I look at why people have been successful in products they put out, shows they've done, and things like that, is because they really created it for themselves. And it's the answer to them. I tell people on this podcast all the time that, a lot of times I'm working out my stuff on air. My journals are for me. I go back and use my own tools, and I'm just like, well, I got something out of it. I hope you got something out of it too. So I think that's definitely a key, and could be a tie-in as we get into this conversation on purpose. So having talked about your journey and the usage of your products and ML Media in general, how would you define purpose? And do you think having a purpose is important?
Yeah, that's great questions. I have very, very vivid memories of myself as a child. I was asking my mom, like, why am I here? What am I supposed to do in life? What am I made for? And I think that many of us find ourselves searching. We search for who we're meant to be, what we're meant to do. And sometimes that searching leads to very healthy, productive spaces. And sometimes that searching leads to unhealthy spaces and unhealthy relationships. So when I started really doing my own healing work and understanding what does purpose mean to me, that was a big part of my work, was really asking myself, what is this to Mamie? And I do believe that we all have purpose. And I think that sometimes we confuse our purpose and our assignment, and your assignments can change, where if my purpose may lead me to be a teacher, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be a teacher my entire life. That's my current assignment. Maybe I'm serving in my church. That's my assignment, but that assignment can change. And I think sometimes we put more into the assignment than we do into actual purpose and who we're created to be, what is uniquely put into us. And, I really believe that God intentionally designed us. There's no mistake. He wove every unique fiber of who I am, the dimple in my cheek, the curls in my hair, the way I am. And life, of course, tries to impact the way that, I'm uniquely designed. And so life and all those things can either pull out or maybe even help suppress some of the ways that God uniquely designed me. And so when I think of my purpose, it really helped me to realize that God had already designed me with worth. He had already designed me with value. He had already designed me with a purpose. I'm not just out here to be out here. And so the gifts that I have are a unique design by him. And so it was really taking time to identify, how do these gifts fit the purpose that he's put me here to do? And how do I do that well? And own my own lane, right? Like, I'm not looking at what other people have or what other people are called to do, what their assignments are, but really looking at, this is what I'm called to do. This is the purpose assigned to me. And that each place I go is intentional. So when I think of, of course, being a military spouse, the places we moved, I don't see them as just coincidence. I see that as a divine assignment, and that God intentionally had us be where we are for the purpose that he put in me. And it's my responsibility to walk out that purpose. Like, I have a choice. So I have a choice in whether or not I'm going to align with that. And I have a choice in how I'm going to show up. And at this stage of life, I choose to show up bravely, boldly, completely me. And it's taken some time to get there, right? Like, some people are very much comfortable in their skin at an early age. I had to learn to be comfortable with me. I had to learn how to love all parts of me. So when I think of purpose, I do believe that the purpose stays the same. How we connect to that purpose, what our assignments are, that's what changes.
Okay. So you said a mouthful, and I want to go back to like the biggest thing that jumped out was purpose and assignment. And so as a mother to a young adult, a 20 something, that is always the issue that you hear from folks in that age group, some older folks too, but it's like, well, I don't want that job over there because that's not who I am. I don't want to do this because I didn't go to school for that. That's not what I am. And I think that's a good example of maybe purpose and assignment, which is these things, these jobs, like, even if it's a job that you don't like, I mean, that's not necessarily your purpose. That's just an assignment. You're just kind of there or whatever. But the purpose is the bigger thing. Is that kind of how you would break down the difference for people out here listening? Because I think sometimes maybe we conflate the two.
Yes, absolutely. So the assignment is temporary. right? Like the assignment is fluid, it changes. And the assignment, and again, this is my perspective, right? Like this is my understanding at this point. I'm always learning and growing. And so I give myself space to realize maybe a year from now, I may have learned and realized, oh, I need to adjust how I think of this. But in my current state, like that's how I was like, there's current state, future state. In my current state, the way that I see that is that our assignments sometimes uncomfortable, like we're not always going to like our assignment, but the assignments are the things that are temporary. And there is purpose in the assignment. Like we know that even in the relationships we have, like all those relationships are not lifetime relationships, but there was some purpose in them. And so it's being able to recognize that we don't confuse our purpose with something having purpose, and recognizing that you may be assigned to something for a season, and what you're assigned to, or someone, because it's not just a thing, it could be an occupation. But sometimes we're assigned to serve people. We're assigned to be in certain spaces at certain times. And so when you think of your assignments, it's okay, how can I serve where I am? How can I be a blessing where I am? What in this, instead of saying, why is this happening to me, is what can I learn where I am? And those assignments, there's so much richness that is in them that connects to the purpose, right? Like it connects to the bigger picture. And when I stop and look back and I see all these moments, those moments didn't make sense when I was walking through them. I'm like, oh, it just seems like something I love to do, or something that, maybe my grandmother signed me up for, or I just decided to get this job just because. But when I look at them now at 44, I see how all those small moments really helped me to be who I am. It really helped to fine tune my gifts, my talents, and to continue propelling me further into my purpose so that I'm in it with fullness, right? And so now I'm not so much of like certain things, yeah, they suck, right? Like there's certain things like, I don't want to do this. I was one of the people who said, I don't want that job. I want something that I'm gonna love every day. And the reality is like you don't. You just, there's some days that are just hard. There are some days the things you're like, oh, this is not the way I thought it would be. And that's okay. But the assignment still helps you to keep moving forward. So I also have younger, I have a couple of sons. One's about to go off to college. I already have one out the house and in college. And my youngest is a freshman in high school. And I've been mentoring most of my career. So I've been an educator now for over like 23 years. And so when I think of the young people that I do mentor, and they're thinking about careers and they're thinking about their futures and wanting to be in something with meaning, well, we can make meaning in every assignment we have. It's all about our perspective.
Ooh, I like that. And I think you touched on good. So definitely going to have some bonus content for the episode. I'm already like, I filled up a page full of like notes. Because she was teaching real good, y'all. She was teaching real good. But the big overlaying picture that your assignment is not your purpose. And your assignment can be a person or a thing. And we talk about relationships a lot. Like if you follow me on IG, you know that I do like love breaks maybe once a week when we talk about relationships, love for self, love for others, and things like that. And it's a lot of times we do get those assignments that are people. Maybe it's your boss and you're wondering like, why is this person torturing me? Why am I here? These relationships that maybe are short term and you think they're supposed to be long term. And then we have to ask ourselves, and as you get older, because I think I've been in that space now, I'm recognizing the why more in a lot of things. I've gone from the complaining to asking myself, what was this moment? What was this job supposed to teach me? What was this person supposed to teach me? And so I think that's definitely good when we talk about purpose and we talk about assignment, and you definitely kind of covered it all and overlapped it in your explanation. But I want to add something a little further too. So again, we have people that may be listening, younger people, folks in our age range, and even older. I had a 60-something year old woman on here a couple of episodes ago talking about her career pivot in her 50s and rediscovering, like really tapping in and discovering her purpose in her 60s. So for all of these people, how can someone tap into their purpose? So that person is kind of wandering around and, you know, looking at the jobs, the assignments, and the people and things like that, and just kind of at this road where they're just wondering the why. Like, you know, how do I tap into my purpose? I know things are going on. I know what I like, or what people tell me I should like or be doing. How does someone tap into their purpose?
Ooh. So one, I think it depends on what you believe. So for me, you know, I believe that my purpose is directly connected to my faith. And I also look at the trajectory of my life, you know, looking at the things, because there's your purpose, you know, you can have passion, you have your giftings, your talents. And so when you start pausing, like, first of all, I think there needs to be a pause. You know, you're asking yourself those questions. And there's a reason why we start asking, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Because, and for some of us, we ask those questions younger in life. Some of us kind of get on the path that we're told, like we're supposed to go on, right?
Right.
And then something in life happens. And now you find yourself asking the hard questions like, wait a minute, this is not the life I thought I was going to have. And I'm not feeling like I'm fulfilled. I don't feel that I'm doing what I was ultimately called to do. And you do see people making changes at 45, at 60, and then really becoming the fullness of who they are and walking again boldly, clear, having clear vision of that purpose. And so I think it all kind of starts with pausing. Really kind of, life can be so fast and we're so used to going from like one goal to the next goal and one thing to the next thing, whether that's relationship to relationship. For some of us who are hard workers, you're used to working from one project to the next project. And so being able to be comfortable with the pause and to be able to be self-reflective and recognizing, well, first of all, what do I believe about purpose? What is my understanding of purpose? Do I even know what that means, right? Like, we say it, we hear it, but what is it that you really understand about purpose? What do you believe about purpose? And so I think starting there, like I go back to a basic word meaning, and my bachelor's degree is in English. I love words.
Okay.
Okay. I love words. And I'm always like, well, what does that mean? And what is the origin of that word? And so being able to kind of go to the very base of, well, what is purpose? And what does purpose mean to you? How has purpose been explained to you? What do you know about it? What do you disagree about it? Like, you really even kind of doing your own basic, start from scratch. What is it? And then from there, start to really do the work, you know, building and say, okay, this is, when I think of purpose, I think of a job. Well, is purpose a job, or is a job a job?
Right.
If you lose that job, do you still have purpose? And so those are the questions that I started asking myself, because I do think it's very easy to make your purpose a title. And so when you no longer have that title, what then happens to your purpose? What then happens to your identity? And so I started recognizing that, you know what, my purpose is not tied to a title. Titles are temporary. And so, well, what does that mean to me? So if I'm not, let's say, if I say my title is teacher, if I'm no longer a teacher, then what does that mean for me? How does that impact how I see my worth, how I see my value,
Mm-hmm.
how I see my purpose. And I actually kind of went through that. Like I still love being an educator. Like it is, I love it. But for a period of time, I did become a stay-at-home mom. And we had just moved to a new city. My husband went off to deployment. I had small children, and I was not working for the first time in my adult life. And it was like, what in the world? It was, I didn't know what to do with myself. And there was a period in which I started feeling like I lost my purpose because I'm like, I'm not this teacher. Well, then who am I?
Right.
And so it really made me start doing deeper work to identify, well, who do I think I am? How do I identify what is identity to me? What
Mm-hmm.
is purpose to me? What is a title to me? And doing that deeper work of recognizing what do these things mean individually, and then how does it build how I view myself? So I hope I answered your question. I think
No, you did. And you actually added
okay.
in some other stuff because I mean, I strongly believe. So my bachelor's degree is in psychology. And
Mm,
I worked in mental health for many years. And I am also a former journalist. So that was one of my minors was journalism. I was a double major and then moved over into a journalism minor after I got the journalism job.
mm,
But I often, if I look back and put on my public health hat, my other degree,
mm,
I think that was a reason people were so uncomfortable with the pandemic because it forced us to be still. It forced us to pause and to think about the why in a lot of stuff that we
mm,
did. Which is why I think we had so many people like I joke now that once we go back into my office, we're still remote at this point. We're not going to recognize most of the
mm,
people that we work with. And people think like someone's like, oh yeah, people gotten bigger, and I was like, no. I said people have had total changes, like mental changes, physical, like a lot of people have grown into themselves because they've had this time
mm,
to sit and to pause and to tap into their purpose. Because a lot of times we have these jobs, and I was telling this guy, I went to a speed dating thing, and I was telling him, and he was like, well, what do you think about your job and your work? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily love my job. I said, but I love the work I do because it aligns with my purpose.
mm,
I was like, I'm giving people in marginalized communities a voice.
mm,
And he was like, oh my, I've never thought of it like that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, a job is just a job. I was like, so, stuff about that I don't like, but I like the meat of what I do.
mm. Absolutely.
And so I think
Okay.
that's a lot of what you were
Mhm,
tapping into, which is just kind of like we sit for ourselves and we do this work and we pause and we think about, the why. When we at this time to sit, when you had that time to sit at home and thinking about yourself other than just the teacher,
mhm.
right? What really is your purpose? Because teaching
Yeah,
was just an assignment.
absolutely. And it changes the way that we do because so much of the way we move for some of us. I'm not gonna speak
Mm-hmm.
for people. I always like I'm gonna speak for me,
Yes.
but for some of us, it requires unpacking our lived experience,
Mm-hmm.
unpacking our childhood, our culture, the societal pressures, all of those things to say, okay, if I start removing this and I start unpacking this and I get everybody else's voice away and I pause to say, okay, what is my understanding of this? Why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I want to please my parents? Am I doing this
Mm-hmm.
because I want to be, this is more acceptable? This is what's expected? Am I doing this because I'm afraid of what's on the other side? And so, being willing to pause is a very uncomfortable thing, especially in our society that really likes to push doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that we've confused doing with being.
Right.
And so when I think of during that time of being a stay-at-home mom, I really was able to become build stronger relationships I was able to enjoy motherhood in a completely different way. I was able to have time now to really recognize, wait, I've been going so fast. I haven't thought about how these traumas have really impacted who I am, the way I move. So even it gave me the time to heal. And I was able to go back to school and earn my doctorate. There's no way I
All
would
right now.
be working on my doctorate with small children and a full-time job and a husband on deployment. And so it's recognizing that sometimes those pivots really allow us the blessing of being able to do something and become a healthy version of ourselves. But the pivot feels uncomfortable because the assignment changes. And when you become comfortable with your assignment and you're like, oh, and you've now made your assignment your identity, then when that assignment changes, then it rocks how you view yourself. And then it also, I think in many good ways, it's a little bit of an uprooting that happens because now you're starting to see some roots and some things and you're like, oh, let me look at this. Why am I doing it this way? Why when I have this conversation do I get defensive? Why do I disconnect from people? So I'm all about the pause. I'm all about sitting with the discomfort, asking myself, why am I feeling this way? What about this do I think about this? Is this my thought? Or is this how I've been taught to think? Is this what I'm expected to think? And so it's just very different. And it requires challenging in many ways. And that can be uncomfortable too, because you may recognize what you were taught isn't what you believe. So yeah.
Okay, so you may have already covered this because I feel like we've talked about a lot of things that you have learned, but what do you think has been your biggest lesson that you've learned on this journey to kind of define your purpose and walk in your purpose?
I've learned that everybody has an agenda. Everybody has an agenda, an opinion. Like people will always have an opinion of who they think you should be. People will always have an opinion of what they think your purpose is, what they think your identity is, what they think you should do, how you should be. The question is, what do you think? Okay. And so often we've allowed other people's voices, opinions to be louder. And you haven't even thought, is this who I am? Is this, do I like me? Do I like this version of me? Do I love this version of me? Do I even recognize myself? And so I think that giving myself permission to not be other people's ideas of who I should be, but to really step again, bravely, boldly, completely into the fullness of who God made me, has been freedom. Yeah.
I like that. So I talk about intentions a lot on this podcast. And I've set my intention for this year, which is my year of rebirth. And which has been, one of the definitions I love is a revival after a steep decline. And revitalization, renaissance. And so I am walking in all of that and dealing with the challenges that come with it, because I often tell people whenever you set an intention, prepare for things to rise up and challenge that intention. And for you, do you have an intention for this year, or have you had an intention that you set for the past, and would you mind sharing that with the listeners?
Yeah. Every year I do start with prayer and really kind of, okay, Lord, what do you have for me this year? Where do you want me to go? Who do you want me to serve? What's my assignment in this season? And so I don't normally start it with like the year with it, right? Like I kind of, but I do have them. Some year, like one year was about joy, choosing joy, seeing joy. Another year was about saying yes, you
Mm-hmm.
know, saying yes to the bold, brave thinking, doing the things that I once thought were impossible. And so this year it's all about foundation.
Ooh, I like
And yeah, and so having that firm foundation and taking time, because again, like I said, I love words. So I went to, well, what does that mean?
that.
What is a foundation? What is the purpose of a foundation? How do you have a firm foundation? What makes a foundation weak? What's the danger of not having a firm foundation? What's the benefit of having a firm foundation? And so that includes looking at, do I have a foundation of good habits in this season? You know, can my habits sustain growth? How are we setting up our business for the next, you know, because we always talk scale, but you have
Right.
to have things in place for scale, right?
This
Like
is true. Yes.
you gotta have like and you know, people get these surges and they're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared for that. And so my mind is always, how do I be prepared for the blessings I'm praying for?
That's it.
And recognizing what are the things that need to change, and am I putting my foundation in spaces and places that are not firm, that can be easily moved by the storms of life. And so that has been slow, deliberate work. It's been hard work. Like you mentioned, some of it, while it's exciting, it also means being willing to make sacrifices in the now for where you want to be in the later. And it's hard to have your eyes sometimes on where you want to go, because right now feels so blah, right?
Right.
Like, this is not what I want to be doing. And so also recognizing that you don't just build a foundation, you do it piece by piece. And so that's kind of what I'm doing, and giving myself grace to do piece by piece, one step at a time. And remember, I'm not building alone. And I think that's the other part, that for some of us, when you've gone through hard seasons, it can be very easy to focus on the ones that aren't there, that you miss out on all the amazing people who are around you, who are
Mm-hmm.
cheering on, who are showing up. And so I do think that when you're looking at the foundation, is remembering who you're building with, keep your eyes on that. And that the foundation isn't just for me, because when something is built well, it lasts for generations. And so that's the other part of, I'm very legacy minded. And I do think about my children's children's children, right? Like um, and recognizing how am I help to help heal families? Because if you heal a person, you're healing a family, you're healing a community. And so while a lot of people love to focus on the thousands, I know the value of focusing on the one. And we can change the thousands when we impact the one. So so that's
Yes.
my focus of my work, which is why I'm like, how can I help the mother? How can I help the daughter? How can I help the one dealing with, you know, hurt? How do I help the woman who feels unseen know that she's seen, she's heard, she has value, she has a place? And so whenever I write all of my products, I think about the one, and knowing that that one, she's changing her home, she's changing her workplace, she's changing her community. And that keeps me going forward.
Like that.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Frame that quote. Changing the one. Yes. Frame it. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. So after you do all the great things you do, you are a mother, you are a teacher, you are an impactor, you are a leader, you are a business owner. How do you take a break? And what advice can you offer others on finding the time to take a break for what they need to do? Because I often tell people sometimes taking a break is not just like rest. You can take a break to go back to school, because so many of us think that we don't have the time. You can take a break to write a book. So how do you take a break, and what advice can you offer others on taking a break?
That's a really good question. So for me, I really value the relationships in my life. and building healthy, lasting relationships. And so I've been married now 19 years. Next year will be 20 for us.
Yeah.
And so taking a break also for me is also about paying attention to not allowing what I'm building to be bigger than who I'm building with.
Hmm.
And so am I taking a break to appreciate the good in my life? Am I taking a break to appreciate the love that I have in my life? Am I taking a break to appreciate the friendships that I have in my life? And so never being so busy doing that I forget that I still need to show up for Mamie.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to ensure that I'm putting in the work for me to continue my healing journey, that I'm putting in space for me to just see the beauty of where I am, to celebrate the growth that I've had, to speak love and life and hope over myself, and that I'm enjoying it with the people that I love, you know. So sometimes I work from home, and being able to take a break in my day and go and hug my husband and just hug, right? Like I'm able to be in that moment, and then like, okay, this is good. And then I might go back to work, go back to my meetings, right? But in that moment, I was able to like stop and like, let me go do this. Taking a break to recognize when I'm not in a healthy space.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times where I'm like, I need a timeout.
Right.
I need to take a break. I need to go reset and recognize in this moment, I'm not able to be the healthiest version of myself. And what do I need? And so a break for me can sometimes feel like a resetting. A break for me can sometimes, let me back up. I never treat a break as a reward.
Mm-hmm.
A break is actually an integral part of my day. So I look
Yep.
at my day and I intentionally, okay, where in here am I going to go do something that brings me joy or do something to care for myself? I kind of take it throughout the day, because what I may think I need in the morning may not be what I need after I've gone through 5 meetings. And so being able to recognize maybe a break for me is going out in my raised garden and having my feet in the grass and having the sun on my skin and touching nature. And so I think it's being able to recognize first that we should never treat taking a break as something we have to earn. Having breaks should be a regular part of our routine.
Mm-hmm.
And having multiple breaks throughout our day should be a regular part of our routine. And recognizing what types of break are needed for what you're going through. And do you know what those things are? So again, I'm going to go back to have the pause.
Right.
Taking the opportunity to pause and think about, what is my relationship with taking breaks? Did I see my mom take breaks? Did I see my grandmother? Did I see people in my life do this? What is my relationship with that? What are my thoughts about that? What about it is true? What is not true? What do I enjoy doing when I take a break? Because taking a break to go fold laundry is not you taking a break. You know, at least not for me. Let me say that. That's not taking a break. That's me just going to another task. And recognizing breaks for me are ways that I reset myself, I pour into myself, I recognize what is it that I need. Am I in control of it? You know, I think that's the other part, is do I have access? Because there is an element in which everybody doesn't have access to the same resources. And
Yep.
while we can tell people, go to a spa, go get a massage, or you can watch my kids, because I don't have childcare for that.
Right.
So
Yep.
while I may have the money for it, I don't have the resources for somebody that I trust
To
to
watch
watch
the
my
kids. Yep.
children, for me to enjoy being out of my home, right? So it's not, we don't have the same resources. And we don't have the same time, because a caregiver, breaks for a caregiver is going to look very different than somebody who's a college student.
Right.
And then somebody who's a new mom and things. So it's even recognizing that our time isn't the same. So I think just those are the things for me in taking a break. It helps me to be a healthy version of myself. And that I recognize this is something I need to do and should do, not a reward because I've worked so hard.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming and imparting all of this wisdom. Where can listeners find you out and about on the internet streets?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yes, you can find me everywhere. My website is Mamie, Mamie, Pack, PACK.com. Again, free resources. You have all of the different products that you're able to purchase. So, of course, subscribe to our email list. We also are on Instagram, Mamie L Pack Media. We're on Facebook. We're on Pinterest. We're on TikTok. We are on LinkedIn. So everywhere that you have social media, look, we're on Twitter. So type in, Mamie L Pack Media, Mamie Pack. You will find me there, and you will get all sorts of encouragement and resources, journaling prompts, ways to prioritize, self-care, self-love, recognizing when you're sabotaging yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I also teach classes on Buy From a Black Woman TV. So you can come over there, Buy From Black Women TV on the YouTube channel, and find not just me, but many other phenomenal Black women who are teaching amazing courses where you're able to build your business and learn and improve yourself. So be sure to subscribe to that as well. And so, yes, we are everywhere that you want to look for us.
And I do believe that I saw that Mamie is going to be out in the public this summer. Yes. She is going to be on tour. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Again, this is the part where I'm grateful. Like, Buy From a Black Woman has just been amazing. And Nikki, she just creates space for Black women everywhere she goes. And I'm so thankful for her. And so this summer you can find Mamie L Pack Media. We are a part of the Buy From a Black Woman Inspire Tour presented by H&M. That will be, we will specifically be in Charlotte on July 8th. So you can come out and support. We will also be there with other amazing Black women. So you can come have fun, get your shopping, support. And there are many other cities that you can go to, buyfromablackwoman.org, to learn more about the Inspire Tour and how you can buy from a Black woman.
All right. Mamie, thank you so much. For everyone else, check the show notes and I will have all the ways that you can connect with Mamie and you can see her on tour. I'll have that information and also the YouTube information so that you can tune in to some of the classes that she teaches on Buy From a Black Woman TV. So stick around. We'll be back with the 3 breakaways. And so we are back with the 3 breakaways. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed this conversation. I often tell y'all that I do this podcast for myself a lot of times, and I'm just so happy to share what I'm learning with everyone else. So without further ado, here are 3 breakaways that stuck out to me from this episode. Breakaway number 1, your assignment is not your purpose. Your assignment is not your purpose. And so I love how she broke it down. Scroll back into the episode, dig in when we were talking about this, and she says that your assignment is temporary. You are not always going to like the assignment, but there is purpose in there. Assignment can be a person, a place, or a thing. That resonated for me. For all of us who maybe don't like our jobs, who are wondering how we are in relationship with certain people, certain friends, certain people that hurt us on the intimate level. And these people are temporary assignments. They're not our purpose. And your assignment can be your job. It can be a person. It could be like where you are at a certain point in life, but it's not your purpose. And a lot of times I think we conflate the two. So I really enjoyed that breakaway. Your assignment is not your purpose. Number 2, we have confused doing with being. We have confused doing with being. And I think I like this because a lot of this is going to fall back on career. A lot of times we conflate career and purpose. We think that your job working at the post office is the same thing as your purpose. That purpose is just your state of doing. It's not who you are. It's not that state of being. That post office job is an assignment. That's not your purpose. Your purpose could be bringing people joy and light. And your assignment is just maybe to make sure that you can do that and something else that resonates more with your purpose. Or maybe you are bringing joy and light to the people you connect with on your postal route. But we confuse doing and being a lot. And I think that's why there's so much confusion with purpose. So that was breakaway number 2. Breakaway number 3. To tap into your purpose, pause. Oh, I love that one. I think that we are so confused a lot of times about purpose and who we are, and allowing people to tell us who we are and whose we are, and not knowing who we are at our core, because we don't take a break to pause. Just sit. Just be still. Be still. We are so afraid to be still, to pause. Just to sit, pause, stop doing stuff. Go sit outside on your porch. Go for a walk with no music on. Listen to the birds. Feel the air. Pause. Have a point in your life when you pause and look at how purpose and everything comes flooding to you in that moment. To tap into your purpose, pause. All right, check my show notes where I will spell out these 3 breakaways and tell you how to contact Mamie Pack. Until next time, find a little time to take a break. Bye. Thanks for taking a break to listen to the episode. Connect with me at PM Kester, that's KESTER on Instagram, or email the Kester Group at gmail.com. As always, subscribe, rate, and review us on your platform of choice. Until next time, find a little time to take a break. Bye.